G'day and welcome to the Make It With Myles podcast. I'm Myles Clark, your beloved host, and here we talk about a couple of things in regards to building and construction. Fucking talk dirty. As well as that, we also talk about the property industry through the lens of a building inspector, and we have another segment that we do called The Journey, which is more all about personal development. We dabble in that every now and then because I'm into it and I like to get some things off my chest, and I think it's helpful for a lot of people that are sort of listening in to be better, because the better you are, the better life gets, and life is fucking hard, so you may as well do the best you can. Now, on this episode, we will be discussing how to plan a basic bathroom reno on a budget. This was a difficult one to sort of put in place because there's a lot of working little things that go into bathroom renovations. It's not just one trade. There's a fucking lot that gets involved. That's why they're bloody expensive. And the more detail, the more high-end stuff, the more changes, all this sort of stuff adds those costs up. So what I've done, I've sort of broken it down into the basic overview that I think is best to get a bathroom reno done on a budget. Here we go. The first thing to consider is the type of construction the home is. Is the house on a subfloor or is it on a slab? Concrete slab is simply a slab on ground. It's a big lump of concrete that sits on the earth. The other one has a subfloor, okay? So there is some sort of cavity underneath the house. You might be on brick piers or concrete stumps or, unfortunately, timber stumps, and you have access underneath the house, which makes it a lot easier to move things around. Now, the impacts of the layout with regards to plumbing, most of the time you want to keep that budget as low as practicable. You want to just keep the layout the same. So the less you move things around and literally just sort of peel everything out and reinstate it is going to be the best approach. If you have a subfloor, relocating things isn't as difficult, okay, because you still got to strip back the walls and do lots of bits and pieces like that. But most of the time, if you want to do it on a budget, ideally just keep the locations in the same spot. If you've got a slab, fucking definitely do that, because there is a lot of work and effort and fixing slabs to relocate pipes that are going through a concrete slab. It's just painful. Don't recommend it at all. Now, something else to consider is see what you've already got in your bathroom itself and what you can repurpose. You might have a bathroom that's already pretty good. You might have tap sets that's already half decent. You might have a basin that you sort of like. The vanity itself is pooch, but you're happy to reuse these things. The bath itself might be completely reasonable. You're going to rip it out, reinstate everything and put it back in place. So just look at all the things. If everything's absolutely cooked, don't worry about it. You can always go out and buy new things. Most of the time you can get some really good looking, affordable fixtures and finishes that go in these places. So look into that. If there's something you can repurpose, I would definitely go ahead and do that. If you're going to be going out and purchasing all new fixtures and fittings, what you want to be doing is hitting up a list of everything that you see in your bathroom as it is, and then you pretty much just have to buy the replacement, more or less. Things like that are going to be basins, vanities, baths, shower screens, shower bases. You might have the two-tap system with the old shower rose in the shower itself. You might want a mixer setup that has a shower rail and all that sort of stuff. Those types of changes are not impactful. They're actually quite easy. So to do that, it's all right. The location of the plumbing is going to be in the same place. Isn't such a brutal sort of process to go into it. You might also be looking at things like freestanding baths. Okay, freestanding baths is going to impact. There's going to be a bit more tiling to be involved with that. Just be mindful about all these types of things. So anyway, pretty much get your big old hit list together, and then you'll understand what you're going to be doing moving forward. And then you want to be going out and ideally purchasing these things up front. Okay, you want these things handy earlier than you want later, okay? Because after you strip everything, then everything gets pretty well put back in place to suit what you have purchased. And if you buy a mixer, for example, there's a unit that goes inside the wall that you need before you can even start covering up the wall itself. After that, you're going to be looking at your tiles. Okay, so with regards to tiles, you need to figure out the layout and the location of the tiles themselves. What you'll find is that maybe you want to go full height tiles all the way through. If you're on a budget, most of the time what it's going to be, you're just going to tile the areas that only really require it, okay? That's the floor, a skirting tile around the bath, above the bath, splashback on the vanity, shower recess. If you're going to do full height tiles, tiling technically isn't really necessary unless you want that look, but it's going to cost more money down the road. So be mindful. If you're trying to do it on a budget, you want to be doing the minimal as possible. With regards to ordering tiles, you want to be ordering the square meters plus 10%. Very simple. Calculate the square meters of the shower recess, the walls. So what we're talking about here is the same tile. So the floor tiles might be different to the wall tiles. If they're all the same, whatever. Wall tiles, you calculate the square meters. Then you're also going to add 10% to that, okay? Because there's a lot of things like wastage and all that sort of stuff that comes into play. Now, if you're doing like a feature tile situation, but this is probably not more for a budget person, that percentage can go up based on what type you go with. If it's like mosaics, or if you might be doing not mosaics, if you're doing like a herringbone finish or anything like that, like a specific pattern, then there's a lot more wastage involved with it, so you sort of need to up that percentage. But if you're just doing standard lay, standard process, 10% is going to be fine. Right, now it's time for the methodology in place to do all this, all right? So you understand what you're going to reuse or not reuse. You understand all the plumbing fixtures that you've got. You've already ordered all the plumbing fixtures that you've got. They're in-house, ready to rock and roll. Now you're going to be getting trades in place to actually implement this process. Trades are going to be general labour, your plumber, your electrician, a carpenter, a waterproofer, a tiler, a painter, a plasterer, a glazier, a cabinet maker, and a fucking caulker. All right, this is why bathrooms and kitchens and that cost a lot of money, because there's a lot of people involved with it. Even though they might have a small role and they're there for a day, because you've got so many people involved, it can be very difficult to get that methodology right, which I'm going to go through next, and understand that costs money to get a lot of people in. That's basically it. Okay, so next is the methodology. What I'm going to do, I'm going to literally read through the list and talk about the process itself of how I would see the best basic bathroom reno process looking. Okay, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You might have your own special way. If you're a trade listening in, that's all G. If you're just a novice person and you want to understand how the process works, this is how I would go about it. First things first, disconnection of all services. You're going to have electricians and plumbers come in. You're going to disconnect GPOs on the wall, general purpose outlets. You're going to disconnect maybe fans if you're going to be replacing them. You're going to disconnect light switches if they're going to be in the way or getting retiled, things like that. You're also going to be disconnecting all the plumbing fixtures, okay? So they're going to turn the water off, they're going to disconnect all the shower rows, the tap sets, everything that they're going to need to more or less disconnect and then and what they're going to do is they're going to cap them off as well so you can turn all the water back on in the house. But that is one of the most important parts to be done first. Do not do it yourself. It's not fucking worth it. Get someone in to do it. You're already going to get a plumber in to fix up everything else anyway and put it in place, so just do it the right way. Next one is demolition. This is just going to be general labourer, all right? When you're demolishing a bathroom, the best approach that I have found is to simply cut just above the tile line. So you've still got a bit of plasterboard up to the actual cornice itself. Cut it all out, strip it all back so it's back to the bare frame. Okay. If there's a wall that you're not going to be actually touching, maybe you've got a back wall, all it is a light switch on it for the lighting and the fan and then a skirting tile, then I wouldn't worry about ripping that whole wall apart and taking door arcs and stuff like that off. But you would definitely want to be doing all the areas that already have tiles in place. Okay, so you might be just next to your shower recess, you just go 100 mil past, cut it. Next to your bath where the tiles are, go 100 mil past, cut it, cut all these sections out and just strip everything back, okay? You don't peel fucking tiles off walls because most of the time you're always going to be doing some sort of modification within the wall itself, and it's just so much easier to work from an actual bare frame and start fresh with new materials, because that's going to give you the best chance of a quality job and it's not going to cause issues down the road when you're trying to really skimp out. This is how you technically skimp out. This is the budget way of doing it, and this is the best way of doing it. Okay, so don't think you're better than everybody else, because I've seen too much failure in that regards. This just seems to work much better, okay? In-wall modifications is going to be next. So we've got things like shower bases, water stops, things like that, okay? So what we mean by that is if you've got like a level entry shower, you're going to have to potentially redo the floor itself and add like a Skyon or some sort of cement compressed board that's going to replace the probably old chipboard floor that's there. You might be just doing a tile overlay. If you're doing sort of crazy modifications like that, you're going to need more or less a qualified trade, probably a carpenter, to actually come in and help you with that process, which is obviously completely fair and reasonable. If it's just a basic sort of setup, just think about it, right? You've got mixers in the wall, plumber's going to come out to do that. You might be changing some electrical components, they're going to come out and do that. Everything's opened up and ready to go anyway. So all the in-wall modifications get put in place. Now, after that happens, you want to be looking at things like getting ready for the wall linings. Okay, so something that's going to be very critical here is, and I recommend it, is putting insulation in your walls as well. Okay, so insulation isn't just used for thermal, it's also used for acoustics, all right? So you don't really want to be hearing everything inside the shower every single day when you're walking past it. Just insulate the walls while you're there. Even the areas that are done, the other walls might still be closed over. It just, for a bag of insulation, it's definitely worth the effort. And then you're going to have your chippy in place simultaneously, straighten the walls, getting it ready to be lined. Okay, now lining it, you can either get your carpenter to just throw some sheets on the wall because they know what they're doing, or you can get your plasterer to do the same thing. Plasterers do, as well as install plaster, will also install cement sheet. So What I mean by that is what I highly recommend happens, especially in the high-risk areas like next to a bath, but most definitely within a shower recess, is that you install a villa board product, a cement-based sheet. This is much better than wet area plasterboard. Wet area plasterboard, I don't mind it for like the general area where it's not going to get impacted heavily with water or have that risk of it occurring. And it's just a better product. So I would highly recommend in the shower recess itself and more or less above the bath, definitely shower recess, put a cement sheet product in place rather than wet area plasterboard. So the plaster is going to come in, they can sheet everything up, stop up what they've got to stop up, get everything ready for the waterproofer. The waterproofer is next. Now, waterproofing for me, I do sometimes struggle with getting trades that are doing a quality job to do the waterproofing itself, but I would highly recommend, obviously, you engage somebody to provide you a certificate to say that's been done correctly and get them in to do all the waterproofing that is required for that space. Once the waterproofing is done and dried and cured and all ready to rock and roll is when your tiler is going to come in and do the tiling and the grout. There might be specific layouts or bits and pieces that you might want to request. Now just talk to them, sit down with them, explain to them sort of how you would like it to look. They will also provide ideas because they fucking do it every single day of what works best, how they would go about it. It's okay to do it your way. They will do it your way. It's fine. But it's always smart to listen to these trades because they've been doing this shit for years and they know what's going to be right, they know what's going to be wrong, what's going to work, what's not going to work, where issues can come up. So just use these trades and their expertise over their whole career to help you deliver a product that's going to be absolutely schmicko. Next thing after the tiling is done is you're going to silicon the areas that are going to be covered. Now what I mean by that, if you have a freestanding bath, all right, you want to silicon behind the bath first before you put the bath in. Guess what? It's fucking really hard to silicon behind a bath that's freestanding because it's practically well impossible. That, vanity units, things like that, okay? You don't have to do the whole entire scope yet because there's probably still other things that you will be siliconing, such as joinery to the wall and bench tops and stuff like that and baths. But be mindful before you jump the gun, silicon the areas that you're not going to be able to get to later. Next is going to be the cabinet maker. Cabinet maker is going to come in and install the vanity unit. So you might have a freestanding unit, gets put in place, everything gets chopped around, the bowl gets put in place, the holes get cut out, they understand what the dimensions are going to be, all that sort of stuff. They do their little scope. Next is going to be the fit off of the fixtures and fittings. So you get your electrician, your plumber, and your glazier. Electrician's going to do obviously all the sparky work. Plumber's going to do tap sets. They're going to make sure that they silicon around into the waterproofing before they put all of their cover plates over and then do a quality job. They're going to hook up the vanity unit, plumbing pipes, everything has been just poking out the wall. They're going to hook it all in, get it operational, commission it, fucking job done, crack on. And then the glazier. The glazier is going to be put in place to do the shower screen. Okay, so glazier supplies shower screens and installs them. There are some companies that just specifically do shower screens. They're completely fine, no issue with that. They come in, put the shower screen in place. They do all their work, drill their holes, fix off where they fix off to, get it all adjusted so it's all operational. And then your next step is going to be complete the silicon. Once all these things are in place, you're going to give it a nice clean. We called it a builder's clean. What I mean by builder's clean, you're going to vacuum it all up, give it a mop. It's not going to be fucking perfect, but where all the silicon areas are, so the little junctions where the floor meets the tiles or inside the shower recess where the tiles meet, all these areas where there's silicon required, give it a clean for them, okay? They're not cleaners. They're actually called corkers, so they cork things. They don't clean things, all right? So you want to just put some effort in, clean it for them beforehand. They will fucking love you for it. They will smash it out. The reason why you get a corker in, because corking, there is a skill to it. Not everyone can do it. It is very hard to master. It took me some time. Once you get the tricks in place, it's pretty easy. But if you're doing it your first time, you want it to look good. That's actually what's going to really finish it off. And as well as that, they will use the correct product for that space so it doesn't go moldy or shit and things like that. That's not what you want. So they're much smarter than us. Get a corker involved, all right? Final is paint to finish, all right? Where all your plasterboard is exposed and you're going to repaint the whole place, you want to obviously do things like ideally you want to repaint the ceilings with a wet area ceiling paint. That helps with that sort of paint peeling effect that can occur with condensation build up over a period of time, and it can help mitigate mold growth. If you get you might have a fan in place in the bathroom itself, but you still can get that condensation build up, which can lead to mold and shit like that, which you don't want. All right, so painting is to finish, and then final clean. Pretty much what you got in place now is you can get in, give it a really good scrub. You can get all the dust off, all the grouting finishes and wipe everything down and all the marks and bits and pieces that everyone's done. And that's it. You fucking move in, new bathroom, on a budget, broken out. You're a project manager now. You're practically a builder. You've got all your trades listed. You're fucking kicking goals, and you've got yourself a new bathroom, and you're kicking ass and having fun with it. So before you undertake your own bathroom renovation, this is really what's needed for the most basic bathroom renovation. As I said at the start, if you start doing other things like full height ceilings or herringbone finishes or mosaics and stuff like this, this can make it a bit more complicated. There might be times where trades have to sort of do a couple of visits back, like something might have to go in before someone else can come back in place and can finish off their scope. So just be mindful of that. Now, all I recommend in those processes is you just communicate to your trades. Say, this is the scope. This is what we're doing. When do you want to come in and do X, Y, and Z, right? The cabinet maker is an important one. You know, when do you want to put the vanity on? Do you want the floor tiles in place grouted? Do you want the floor tiles in place not grouted? Do you want the fucking wall? Do you want the tiles on the wall done? Do we want us to tile first? You slide the vanity in. There's lots of little things like that can happen. Just speak to your trades. Have conversations with them. They're not idiots. They know what they're talking about. And they are more than willing to help you. The more they help you, it actually helps them. Okay, so be reasonable with them. Speak to them. And fucking pay them on time when they put their invoice in, or you're going to be making enemies, and that's not what you want as well. So basically, that is the way in which I would go around a budget bathroom renovation. Hope that's provided some value to someone. And give it a share to someone that's doing some bathroom renos who's a bit of a novice and has no clue about construction. Give us a rating. We really appreciate that, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Who bloody rude.